You got a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You got your Mac and Mac guys back together. That's a good thing. John McMullen back safe and sound from Dallas, despite not getting in till late night last night. Hey, J-Mac, you get enough sleep for tonight's show?
No, probably not. But I have confidence in Jody McDonald. You will carry me, much like back in the day, Darius Slay had to carry Dak Prescott up a hill at Southern Miss. Told us that story last week. Didn't work out well, trying to carry the Eagles defense. But yeah, you got to carry me, and I'm a little too heavy. So that's going to be.
I was going to say,
it's going to be rough.
I got a bit of a bad back myself.
Yeah. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
This could be a crash and burn. Yeah. So you might want to stay tuned for the next 2 hours here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. All right. We're now more than 24 hours removed from the beatdown that was this week's Cowboy-Eagles game. We've had that much more time to stir in our juices and lick our wounds. Any less painful at this point, Johnny Max?
Well, you know me. It's not painful for me. I got to go on anyway. I got to march on, Jody. Nothing changes for me, win or lose, other than probably people are a little bit more difficult to deal with as we get down there and, a week after a loss. Back to practice, big day today. Nick Sirianni talks 12:30-ish. Jonathan Gannon will also talk, and those are the two guys who got out coached mainly. And a lot of people, Mike McCarthy's not the most well-regarded guy in the world these days, especially with the younger set in the NFL who thinks the Sean McVays of the world are the template that should be head coaches in this league. I got to tell you, Jody, the old guy who's supposed to not have it anymore, he ramped up a pretty good 97-mile-an-hour fastball, ran it right by Nick Sirianni.
Yes, I will give McCarthy credit for absolutely winning the coaching matchup hands down. You mentioned McVay, though. I did not notice that. And if I heard it once, I heard it 3 or 4 times during the weekend. Did not know it was the case. McVay, since he's gotten to the Rams, is 40-0 in games that he led at halftime. So when the Rams jogged off the field with their halftime lead against Tampa Bay, they had a pretty good trend going their way and made it stand up with their win over Brady and the Bucs on Sunday. They never blow a halftime lead. That is pretty good statement about a coach and his abilities. If you believe there is in-game coaching and things you can do to answer first half happenings on the field, that's pretty damn impressive as far as adjustments go if you're 40-0 with a halftime lead.
Yeah, I did not know that stat until you just jumped it there. My guess is when the Rams are playing well, my guess just off the top of my head, when they're playing well, they're generally playing well offensively. So a lot of those leads are probably pretty significant. The guy's been a good coach. I'm not saying, this is his 5th year, I think, and he's won in double digits, I think. Maybe 1 year he's 9-7. So he's always been over 500, always getting near double digits, always having that team in the playoffs conversation. So, look, he's been a very successful coach, went to the Super Bowl, got embarrassed in that Super Bowl by the veteran coach who might know a thing or two. But nonetheless, he has – I only bring him up because he's become the template. When you talk to people in this league, they're always looking for the next Sean McVay type. That's why Matt Nagy's there. That's why Nick Sirianni's here. Same type of offensive mentality, young guy, energetic guy, all that kind of stuff. Ted Rath, Sean McVay's get-back coach back in the day. He's in Philadelphia. Everybody wants Sean McVay. Everybody wants, he had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay. Let's talk to him. Let's interview him. That's the way the league thinks. A good coach is a good coach. And they come in many different shapes and sizes, many different backgrounds. But I do point, I tend, you got one of them coming in this week. He's pretty good. And it looks like Andy's all right. He's going to have a conference call with us today. So that's all positive. But Andy's a pretty good coach. Bill Belichick's a pretty good coach. Pete Carroll's a pretty good coach. Bruce Arians is a pretty good coach. I think experience matters in this league, and you kind of saw it on Monday night. Mike McCarthy isn't those guys, but he was good enough to out-scheme Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon.
Clean the Eagles' clock is exactly what the Cowboys did. And you're right. When Belichick started ripping off his Super Bowls, everybody wanted the next Bill Belichick. Well, guess what? There's only one Bill Belichick. And if you're going to continue to try and hit to find the next one, you may end up wasting decades to try and find that perfect coach. And I'll say that about McVay, too. With a kind of stat like that, 40-0, oh, my God. And we'll see what he does this year. People are saying that the Rams could be the team to beat. Shoot, if you like Tampa and thought that they were going back to the Super Bowl, the Rams just beat them fair and square in their house this past weekend. And maybe there's just one Sean McVay. So you got to be careful when you're making that decision with which way you're going to go with the coaches. I do have a Jonathan Gannon question for you because you took a good, strong stance last week. You didn't make a definitive statement, but some serious concern from John McMullen that the coach seemed a little too touchy-feely last week, that he seemed like a guy who could be ready to topple, that he was very introverted and deciding on whether he was or wasn't up to speed to be able to coach an NFL team at this time with his media briefings. And if he's saying that to you guys and all of Eagle Nation, what the hell is he saying to himself behind the curtain when he's not in front of a Zoom camera? Is he questioning himself? Is he wondering about himself? Is he putting too much pressure on himself? In listening to all of the media things that he's done, I think you were well within your rights to do that, John, and question whether this guy is ready for the challenge of being an NFL head coach in a town like Philadelphia. And that was before the Cowboys put the beat down on him this week. And what kind of Nick Sirianni are we going to get at the media availability today?
I think we're going to get one that has turned the page and knows and understands how some people took what he said last week, and I'm one of them. I admit it. You know, I said at the time it was speculation. It was I just took it as, you know, all right. If you're asking yourself, and I brought up the old Saturday Night Live character Stuart Smalley, the self-affirmation. If you have to do that to yourself in public, what are you doing behind the scenes? Right. And then I take it further. That was before the game. Then I take it further into the game, Jody McCown. The biggest stat in that game that still blows my mind, is in all the Eagles' offensive plays, and there weren't a lot of them. There were only because they couldn't stay on the field, but whatever it was, 52, 53, somewhere in that range. Not one pre-snap motion. Not one. So I start to think to myself, well, this guy's supposed to be the new age. This guy's supposed to be a Sean McVay type. This guy's supposed to be scheming people open. This guy's supposed to, with the eye wash and the manufactured touches and the bubble screens and everything in the orbit motion, everything close to the line of scrimmage. And I say, what the hell is going on with this? And then I take it a step further and I say, the penalties. Is he shook by the penalties? The pre-snap penalty. This team leads the NFL in penalties. They set a franchise record in the first 3 games for penalties. And he had mentioned, look, the dumb plays. I'm not talking about the Derek Barnett plays, the dumb personal fouls, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the pre-snap stuff, the false starts, the offsides, which could bring back Derek Barnett back in the conversation. But nonetheless, is he trying to make things so simple for these guys because he's not confident that he has them prepared to do? That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign if you're scaling back your offense to that degree in week number 3. There's a lot to be concerned about.
2 things jumped out to me, and you beat me to one of them. I was going to say exactly that. Prior to the game on Sunday, the Eagles were the most penalized team in the National Football League. After the game, they are far and away the most penalized team, and that's with a scaled-back offense. a
Yeah.
non-motion offense. That does not bode well. So maybe he was actually onto something. And of course, the other one was they're on the road in front of close to 100,000 people in Dallas, where the other team is going to be screaming. And oh, by the way, you've got a quarterback in his 7th start in the league. You've got 3 wide receivers, one of which is a rookie, 2 of which are second-year players who aren't as ingrained in just existing in the NFL in hostile stadiums against teams that are going to bring it as far as noise level goes. Shoot, even Miles Sanders is a relatively young back, and Kenny Gainwell, who's playing almost as much as Sanders, is in his 3rd professional game. You add all those things up, and I think the coach fell on the side of caution and said, all right, we got to simplify it a little bit this week. Now, you got Kansas City coming into your house on Sunday. At least it's your house, and the crowd won't be attempting to make it difficult on you by screaming their lungs out when they have the ball. The problem is the team that's coming in is pretty damn talented. So you got to be able to react to that. And, oh, by the way, all those guys who are worried about lacking in experience have one more game experience. Not a good experience down in Dallas, but one more game of experience. Maybe he was just running a little scared. And we have to hope that Nick Sirianni is bright enough that he's already watched all the game film. He see how badly they played, and he says to himself, well, I just can't do that anymore. We got to pull our big boy pants on, and we've got to play like we believe we can win any National Football League game, and we have to give it our best shot and not run scared. Because, yeah, if you ask me what I think, how you go to a game without any plays with a player in motion, yeah, I think they were running scared.
Yeah, I think running scared is a good way to put it. I go back to an earlier Nick Sirianni press conference when he did the slam of the podium for the first time, and he was talking about Frank Reich and Frank Reich's issues when he first got the head coaching job in Indianapolis. They started, I think it was 0-3, might have been 0-4. And if you remember, Nick Sirianni was explaining, everybody's looking at the head coach. Everybody was looking at Frank Reich and said, oh, okay, what now? What now? What are we going to do now? The panic is setting in. And he slammed the podium and he said, we're doubling down. If you remember that, we're doubling down. You believe in your core values. Guess what, Jody? We're in week 3. You're only 1-1 coming in. You already got to win. You're in week 3 coming into this game, and you're already scaling back because you're scared. That's not a good sign. If that's the truth, I think you were talking about in-game adjustments with Sean McVay. This is just my opinion. The best coaches in this league are about preparation, not in-game stuff. Look, in-game stuff's important. I'm not saying that. It's very important. I think you see a coach over the last 2 weeks, when he gets in-game, he loses his focus. I think that's the biggest problem. He goes away, I think, from his game plan too quickly. I don't think he went into that game saying, I'm not going to motion at all. Maybe it was scaled back. I just think he forgets things. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he gets off script. Same thing as Arthur Smith, another rookie head coach in week 1. Remember how impressive Atlanta was early in that game? He just got off book and forgot stuff, forgot what was successful. I think that's where we are with Nick Sirianni. I really do. And you're going to see the one thing Andy Reid is known for is preparation. And his guys are ready to play. Now, you can criticize Andy, and many people have, for time management over the years and that in-game stuff. But more often than not, and the old buy stat that's still going on today, that's when you can really see with Andy Reid teams coming off buys when they have that extra time to prepare. Phenomenal. The great coaches are prep coaches. Work gets done before game day. They haven't looked prepared over the last 2 weeks. I think that's fair to say.
I think that's very fair to say. Let me ask you a question about the machinations of play calling for the Philadelphia Eagles, because this kind of jumped out at me, and I went back and rewatched it. I taped the game, I watched the game live, and then yesterday I did go back and double check a couple of things that I just wanted to make sure I was referencing and or analyzing correctly for our show here on Birds 365. And this was I want to say, shoot, I should have written the time down. Mid third quarter, somewhere thereabouts. It was definitely second half. Eagles ran a play, ineffective play. I don't even remember what it was. And the regular broadcast, I didn't watch a lot of the Manning stuff. I know you don't even have a chance to because you're at the stadium, so you haven't had the chance to delve into that. I've turned it on. It's fun. It's goofy. They're like just two guys sitting around watching a game, and they get some big name individual to come in as a guest, which I don't need. I'm watching the game to watch the game.
Yeah.
I want to know about the information. I don't need to be entertained while Monday Night Football is on. The football game itself is entertaining enough for me. All right, there's my commentary on Monday night. So I watched the regular ESPN broadcast. After the play, incomplete pass, whatever it was, the ball went to the ground. They went to a really quick shot of Nick Sirianni. And he was standing on the sidelines, and then he started to move, and he went one way, and he turned around, he came back another, and they had an ISO shot on him for about 20 seconds. And you watched Shane Steichen walk by him on the sideline. And you never saw him say anything. And he's supposed to be the play caller, and he wasn't saying anything into his headsets. He didn't have his play chart in front of his face or anything. He was just kind of nervously walking on the sidelines. And I said, damn, he must have called a quick play after that because I never saw him speak into the headsets. But I saw Shane Steichen talking to whoever he was talking to. I'm assuming it's the quarterback because we're told the coach makes the call. He gets it to Steichen, and then Steichen gets it to the quarterback. Are there plays where he doesn't even bother and just allows Shane Steichen to make the calls to the quarterback?
Well, I will say this. This is one of the great things, maybe the only great thing about the XFL, when they had the mics on the coaches and you got to see actual play calling. Coaches hated it. They all hated it. But the league really took you inside what goes on in that situation. And I think it was Hal Mummy was one of the play callers, and they were getting on the drive. I don't even remember the team he was coaching. I'll look it up in the break. And they were getting on the drive. They were moving the football a little bit, and it was bang, bang. It was, they were having success and, very college oriented type offense, RPOs, things like that. And basically the play call, run it again. He was running the same play until the other team stopped it. I'm not saying that's what happened with Nick Sirianni. I don't know the circumstance. I certainly didn't see it. He might have called two plays in a row, and they might have been on the second one. Could have been a number of different things. It could have been just that quick before the camera. I mean, this is not a complicated offense, Jody. When you take out the pre-snap motion, it gets even less complicated. So it's not going to take a lot of time if you got that call ready to go and in your head. But nobody else is calling the plays. I can tell you that. And we've had that discussion. I don't know if that's a good way to go either. But it's way too early to go down that road. That's just the life and reality of the NFL. But nobody else is calling the plays. I can say that.
Yeah, I was just surprised by it. I say he can't have already backed off calling the plays, and he's leaning on Steichen to start to call plays because they were trailing pretty badly. It was probably 2 scores at the time, probably 13 points. They were down, and it caught my attention as I was watching the game. You're probably right. There's probably an easy explanation. If somebody brings it up in today's media gathering, I will be intently listening to that. You mentioned that both Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon will talk to the assembled media today. We come back. I do want to talk a little bit about Gannon because Nick Sirianni got his butt kicked in the coaching matchup, much like the Eagles got their butt kicked on the field. Well, Jonathan Gannon got his butt kicked too because the Eagle defense was shredded by the Dallas running game. It's the third game of the season. I know it's very early in the process for both of the Eagles' 2 key coaches. That was ugly all around, and defense was a part of it. If they didn't have Jason Hargraves, it could have been the Cowboys might have put up a 50 spot on Monday night against the Eagles. Do want to talk a little bit about Jonathan Gannon and the Eagles defense. Eagles made some moves. It's official on Isaac Sayamalo. He is unfortunately done for the season. We still got plenty to chop up. On Birds 365, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We're right back in just a couple.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit. Glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, 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 and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mac guys here on Birds 365. Hump day, middle of the week, short week as a matter of fact. Eagles have to turn around pretty quickly after playing on Monday night. Oh, and no bargain. The Kansas City Chiefs coming to town. And J-Mac, as I mentioned before we went to break, wanted to talk a little bit about the Eagle defense. Oh, Patrick Mahomes is coming to town. That's good for the Eagle defense. They get to try and stop the toughest quarterback to stop in the National Football League. Not good. Gannon's defense had been pretty damn impressive the first couple of weeks, John. We talked about it prior to the game. Points allowed, one of the top in the league. Yards allowed, one of the top in the league. Yeah, they didn't have a turnover yet, but that was okay. They'd slowed down both of their two opponent quarterbacks the previous 2 weeks. Garoppolo didn't exactly tear him apart. He was what he is. He's a game manager, and he managed the 49ers to a win. A couple of lengthy drives did bother me a little bit about the Eagles in week number 2. And then was week 3, where the Dallas Cowboys, you talk about the tale of two teams. The Eagles ran the ball, you can't even say ineffectively, because they didn't run the ball. One of the 3 runs they had was like for 20 yards by Miles Sanders. You can't say ineffectively when you don't run the ball. 3 handoffs for the entire game, as compared to the Dallas Cowboys, who basically every time they ran the ball got 7 yards. They didn't break any 25, 30-yarders, but no one got stopped at the line of scrimmage. There were no tackles for loss. There was a hold. There was a missed tackle, broken tackle. And before you knew it, the Cowboys were 2nd and 2. Basically every single drive, all they did was your guy against my guy, mano a mano. Let's block this up. Let's hand it to one of our two talented backs, and we'll get well ahead of the sticks by the time we get the 2nd down. That's kind of an indictment of Jonathan Gannon's defense, J-Mac.
Yeah, I don't know if it is, other than I kind of look at it in a different way, because I've been talking about these linebackers for a long time, and specifically Eric Wilson coming in here, and it manifested itself in week 3. So I kind of look at it as he kind of masked the deficiency for 2 weeks, and then it showed up against a team that could take advantage of it. Remember, a lot of teams don't even want to take advantage of the fact that the Eagles have no linebackers that can stop the run. And the ones they do have, TJ Edwards, most notably, they don't have confidence to put him on the field in passing situations. So it's a catch-22. Andy Reid this week, I don't think you have to worry about it as much. You should watch that film. If you're an opposing offensive head coach or an offensive coordinator, you should watch the Dallas Cowboys against the Eagles and say, okay, we're going to double Fletch. We're going to double Javon Hargrave, and then we're going to force the edge players and the linebackers to beat us and make tackles in the running game. There's not a lot of NFL teams that do that. Maybe Baltimore, San Francisco is one of those teams, and they did a really good job against San Francisco. I think the Brandon Graham injury affects that because he was such a good run defender as an edge player. But if you can get to that 2nd level against the Eagles linebackers, they can't tackle anybody. And when they do, it's 7 yards down the field. And, I got that quote, and it was kind of harsh from Minnesota, from somebody in Minnesota who said Wilson was a 20-point scorer on a bad NBA team, meaning he put up statistics, but it wasn't effective. And you kind of saw it. I mean, that is not a traditional NFL middle linebacker. And if you're going to run the ball downhill against the Eagles and he's on the field, they're going to have some problems.
Well, somebody has to be on the field. Somebody has to play linebacker. We all like Alex Singleton because he plays hard.
He did not play well either, by the way.
Right.
Alex.
I was going to, that's what the point I was trying to make, because he plays active and he tries to play fast, but he's not a just win the point of attack, take a head-on shot from a running back and drive him 2 yards backwards. That's not the kind of linebacker he is. He's the kind of guy who makes a play with his speed, running a guy down toward the sidelines. The Cowboys said, we'll stay between the two tackles, and we're just going to push you off the football. The Eagles don't have a Jeremiah Trotter on this team that's going to win at the point of attack.
And few teams do. I mean, that's just the modern NFL. Those guys have become sort of dinosaurs, the downhill linebackers, and if they are out there, like TJ Edwards is more of that type, they're regarded as 2-down players at best, and you got to get them off the field quickly. At this point, I got to seriously think about playing TJ Edwards more and living with some of the other stuff, especially if I'm playing so much zone anyway. Eric Wilson's strength as a player is he's a really good pass coverage linebacker. But the Eagles are playing a lot of zone. So maybe that doesn't show up as much anyway. And that's how you would, in my opinion, if I'm going to play that much zone, I'm going to let TJ Edwards play and at least have some kind of presence to stop the running game. Now, this week, it probably doesn't matter because Kansas City doesn't want to run. So you can do what you want to do, but you got other issues to deal with.
I think that the Chiefs will run the ball at least some. It's not like
they'll run it more than 3 times.
I was going to say I'm going to take the over on matching up the Eagles' running performance this week with the Chiefs next week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, except he does have that key fumble in a game they lost to the Ravens the week before.
They're not going to do what the Cowboys did. Is all I'm saying. They're not going to line up and go downhill. And they're not going to do that.
I would tend to doubt that. I agree with you there. One of the guys I got to ask about on the Eagles defense, and I think I know the answer already, but Ryan Carrigan played 30 some odd snaps. He did not show up on the score sheet. He did not show up on my vision as far as being involved in any plays, getting a pressure on the quarterback, forcing someone to go wide on a run. He was basically non-existent. How bad is the thumb he's dealing with? We know he got hurt in the preseason and got very limited action and looks like a guy who's just rounding into form. And, oh, by the way, very slowly rounding into form. I know both you and I, probably a little more so me than you, liked the Ryan Carrigan signing, thought it was a very good job by Howie Roseman, acknowledged they needed depth out there. And I thought Carrigan had a little something left in the tank coming into the season. I'm not writing him off, but I am pointing out that he's done zippity doo-dah for the Eagles in 3 games since the season started. Is he just incapable of playing? Are they rushing him just because they have a now desperate need at defensive end? Should he still be on IR because of that thumb? Because Johnny, he hasn't done anything for the Eagles since he got here in any game that counted.
Yeah, I think the thumb is a bigger issue than it was made out to be. And Ryan talked to us last week before the game, and he said he still can't grab. And when you're using, you need to grab, you need to use your hands when you're playing defensive line in the NFL. It's really a big part of it. So I do think the thumb injury is a bigger deal than people have let on, but he's a tough guy. He's going to play through it. I think this is a place where you can criticize Jonathan Gannon. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan's playing a lot of 5 technique as a defensive end, which if you think about 5 technique, that's typically what a 3-4 defensive end plays. Not a 3-4 outside linebacker, a 3-4 defensive end, where you're sort of trying to occupy blockers so that the linebackers can make the plays. That ain't Ryan Carrigan. That ain't Ryan Carrigan at all.
And oh, by the way, you're setting the Eagle linebackers up to make plays. And oh, by the way, they're not making
making a play. Exactly. So you have on 2 levels, you have Ryan Carrigan being wasted as a 5-neck technique and 3-4 pseudo looks. And you have linebackers who can't make plays anyway. Patrick Johnson, Jannard Avery, who are, Patrick Johnson started that game. Coaches have this mentality: if you're up, you're going to play, and we need you to contribute. Next man up mentality. You also got to be realistic and say, all right, maybe it's time. And I think I mentioned this yesterday on the show when you and Jeff were doing it. This is where I'll say Jonathan Gannon should take some of that Nick Sirianni advice and say players, players, players. I'm putting Josh Sweat out there because I don't have Brandon Graham. If I got to change my looks a little bit and I'm not going as much 3-4, so be it. I don't have the personnel to do that. So I think that's the part where I would criticize Jonathan Gannon. I think Ryan Kerrigan's hurt and he's playing out of position. And if you got a hurt guy playing out of position, you're not going to have a successful guy. That's what I think is going on there.
All right, then if his snaps need to be cut, and I doubt they're going to put him on IR, you tried to force feed him into the lineup for 3 weeks unless he's re-injured it and or made it a worse injury than it is. He's going to continue to play. Milt Williams didn't open my eyes at all moving outside. We talked about that prior to the game. They drafted him as to be the next Brandon Graham, inside, outside, has that flexibility and the like. Well, he didn't look all that flexible to me. He did nothing outside. Where do they go to replace Brandon Graham? If Carrigan isn't yet up to the task, and we don't know if he ever will get there or not, is it just we're going to live with Milt Williams swinging outside, and because they drafted him because of the similarities to Brandon Graham, they're going to live with that?
That one, I agree with you. Number one, he hasn't played well, but he is a rookie player, and at least he has, the traits to develop as that kind of player. Certainly big enough to do it, certainly strong enough, certainly explosive enough, So I think that's just a young player who's, kind of feeling his way in the NFL, especially in that run game. Yeah, he definitely didn't play well, but I think he's not. You don't look at Milton Williams and say they're putting him out of position like you do with Ryan Carrigan. He's capable of doing that from an athletic standpoint. Now you just got to get him up to speed as an NFL player, and that's easier said than done with all rookies. But when you look at those edge players, and I was looking, if you go, and again, we talk about Pro Football Focus a lot, put it in context. They have these, their grades, their grades, Jody. Some make sense, some don't. They always put a red light, a green light. Like if you're playing well, they always put you're a green light player, red light player, not playing well. Obviously, you're stopping. So run defense specifically, red light players, Eric Wilson, Alex Singleton, we talked about. Now, at linebacker, those are red light players. On the defensive line, Milton Williams, awful. Teron Jackson, awful. Ryan Carrigan, a little bit better. He's more in the yellowish.
Really?
Yeah. Hassan Ridgeway.
Nada. I rewatched the tape. I tried to zero in on him yesterday.
No, he did nothing other than probably, remember what they're grading. They're grading his responsibility. Remember, he's playing 5 technique. He's not supposed to make plays. He's supposed to open up things for others. So that's how they're kind of looking at it. But I'm just bringing it up to point out to you just how bad those edge players, and it's only one game without Brandon Graham. And, oh, by the way, how good Brandon Graham is at that. That was a big part of that game and that run. The fact that Brandon Graham, you don't have to worry about the edge with Brandon Graham. He's going to set the edge as a run defender. And now you got to worry about it, and you got to worry about it big time. And if Brandon Graham is in that game, Jody, the Cowboys can't afford to go in and say, okay, these guys can't make plays. We're just going to double team Fletcher and Javon, and we're going to run the football. They couldn't do that if Brandon was out there. That's how drastically things can change in this league.
Right. But I in this particular game, and I watched it and I rewatched it again yesterday, 2 runs that actually got around the edge. Everything else was between the tackles. They just buried the Eagles at the point of attack. And I know how good Brandon.
No, I get it, though, but
you can shed a tackle and shed a block and make a tackle. But in this particular game, setting the edge wasn't the problem. The fact that the Eagles got manhandled physically was the problem.
Well, what I'm saying, they did. But what I'm saying is it makes it easier. So you don't have to worry about the edge. So you don't have to worry about the edge as an offensive play caller. You're not concerned about Teron Jackson or Milton Williams at all. So you can say that we're going to force these guys to crash down and make a play between the tackles. We don't have to worry about it. We can double team the 2 really good defensive tackles and take them out of the situation, knowing the edge players can't crash down, the linebackers can't tackle, and then all of a sudden you have the 5, 6, 7 yard gain. So it all comes together. You're right. At the end of the day, they're going downhill up the middle. And then you could say, well, why isn't Fletcher doing something? People have said that because he doesn't have the statistics. You can't say it about Javon because Javon's been unbelievable. But Fletcher's getting double teamed. Watch the film. He's getting double teamed every stinking play. And that's, losing Brandon Graham was a big part of that against the Cowboys. And it's not a coincidence that this team shut down the run in the first 2 weeks pretty significantly. And one of those teams, by the way, is a better rushing team than the Cowboys, and that's the 49ers. And then Brandon Graham goes out, and it all goes to hell.
All right. A Howie Roseman specific question for you. We've already touched on the fact that the Eagles are, for lack of a better word, wanting at the linebacker position. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. A pretty solid linebacker became available in the NFL yesterday. Jamie Collins was released by the Detroit Lions. Now, Collins is a 10-year veteran. He's a 32-year-old guy. He's not a game-changing linebacker anymore. Well, game-changing linebackers don't get released in season as Collins was. He was released yesterday by the Lions. The Eagles could go one of three ways here. They could either put a claim in for Collins, who this year I think is $3 and change million, like close to $4 million. So with less than a fifth of the season gone by, you'd still owe him like $3 million for this year. He's got another year to go in his contract, but I guarantee you most of the money has already been accounted for because it's the last year of his contract. So if you didn't keep him for next year, you'd probably take a slight dead cap hit money, but not a lot. You can get him this year for a reasonable about $3 million for the rest of the year. The Eagles have, I believe it's the second most money under the cap right now in the NFL.
Amazing. It's amazing how that changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go back next year, Jody, and everybody will forget about it. Oh, the salary cap. Oh, can't do this. You can't do that. You can do whatever you want.
If you're good at it, you can create room. And that's one thing that Howie Roseman should get credit for. He does create it. But then again, it's something that you need to continue to judge going forward. Because every time you make one of these moves, it's like checkbook journal. You just create issues further down the road. And at some point, you got to be able to pay the piper. But Howie has done a real good job balancing the salary cap. That's an overall thumbs up for the Eagles general manager. Jamie Collins is a better linebacker than the linebacker the Eagles have right now. He's not as good as he was 2 years ago or 4 years ago, but even this iteration of Jamie Collins is better than what they have right now. Do you want to use some of that cap space? It's not like Jeff Lurie's going to keep, we could move it forward to next year. Okay, fine. We don't know that they'll spend it correctly next year. Do they care about winning games the rest of this year, John? The Eagles could either claim him and then they know what they'd have to pay him this year and next. They could hope that no one claims him and then negotiate with him and probably cut an even better deal under the cap for this year and no commitment for next year. And yes, they could tell him, listen, we'll plug you right in right away because we've got linebacker plays to be had here, Jamie, if you want to come play with us. Or they can just say, listen, what was the word that Jeff used? Transition. We're in a transition year. We're not worried about, we're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this week anyway. Jamie Collins doesn't factor in to the future of the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll take a big time pass. If you were in Howie's seat, how would you handle Jamie Collins becoming available on the open market?
Well, if I'm in Howie's seat, that's one I don't even have the conversation with. I mean, he's just not a fit for this team. Now, I value linebackers more than they do, so that would change the thinking. But if you're putting me in Howie,
after this week's game, shouldn't the Eagles reevaluate themselves and how they evaluate linebackers?
They're not going to. For the reason I talked about, well, a couple things. I just want to make it clear. You can't. Jamie Collins is a vested veteran. He's not on waivers, so he's already on a free agent. He's a free agent. You can't claim him. After the trade deadline, which is usually around Halloween, I think it's early November this year, then veterans have to go on waivers. So that short period, they try to ramp up the trade deadline and they try to make it a bit of a penalty. Then veterans go on waivers. But until November, early November, if you're a vested veteran, you're cut during the season, you're released, you're automatically a free agent. You don't have to go through the waiver wire process. But as far as the Eagles and their value, here's the reason, and I get their thinking, I just don't agree with it. I mean, look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is the perfect example because they're the Super Bowl champions. They had two playmaking linebackers that were a big part of their Super Bowl run last year. So linebackers matter. They are a different type of linebacker, though. It isn't Dick Butkus. It isn't Ray Nitschke. It isn't Jeremiah Trotter even. It isn't those big downhill guys. It's the athletic ones. You saw it in Dallas with Jalen Smith. Now he's had some injury concerns. They used him to spy Jalen Hurts. Leighton Vander Esch has had some injury concerns. And now they've gotten Micah Parson, who has had to play edge rusher, but is going to be a linebacker ultimately. They obviously value the position a little bit more than the Eagles. Devin White, Levante David, on and on and on. Darius Leonard, Eric Kendricks, Bobby Wagner. These are the best linebackers in the NFL. They all have something in common. They aren't Dick Butkus. They aren't those downhill guys. They're the guys who can do everything. They're the guys who can run from sideline to sideline, athleticism, coverage, and at least be respectable in the run game. That's what you want. That's the part the Eagles can't get. They can't get linebackers that are even respectable in the run game. And if they do, TJ Edwards, they can't cover anybody. So they haven't been able to toe that line, Jody. And the reason why is, like any other position, I mean, if you have top 10 first round athleticism, Devin White type ability, you're going to go high in the draft. And that's where the Eagles don't value the position. The highest, pedigreed player on this team is Davion Taylor, can't stay on the field. And by the way, I think that's a disappointment because I think he'd probably be a starting linebacker here if he was healthy. That's the way they were gearing at the beginning of training camp. It seems so long ago. They were throwing him in the deep end of the pool, which, if you remember, I advocated that. I said, that's the kind of linebacker they want. Let's throw him out there and see if he can do it. To their credit, they tried to. The guy just can't stay on the field. But everybody else, undrafted free agent. You got Sean Bradley, who's a 6th-round pick. I mean, you got to put some kind of substance into that position when it comes to valuing it. And they just don't. They just don't.
So you think picking Jamie Collins off the scrap heap is a bad idea?
No, well, I think it's a bad idea because of the transition. He's 32. He's done. He's near the end. He's not going to have. I'm not worried about beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And by the way, if he came in this week, he couldn't help you that quickly anyway. I'm not worried about winning games this year. As you know, I've said, what is this season about? This season to me is figuring out what you have in the quarterback and, to a lesser degree, the head coach. Everything else is secondary.
Let me play devil's advocate against you here, John. And it's you and Howie Roseman and the entire organization. You're citing Jamie Collins. Whose playing time are you taking away? Who are you not allowing to develop at the linebacker position? Because Jamie Collins is going to be out there, may potentially help them win some games. And yeah, they're 1-2. Unless you want to tell me, well, Dallas crushed us. We can't compete with them. So we're not going to win the division. We're not going to get a wild card in a tough NFC. So we really don't care how many games we win this year. They're not mathematically eliminated yet at 1-2. Who is Jamie Collins taking reps from that the Eagles are losing out on at linebacker if Collins is playing?
Well, I don't think they're losing out as much as there are some young players. If Davion ever gets back, you do want to see him play. I assume they want to see him play if he can ever stay on the field. Alex is still young and very cost effective. TJ is still young and very cost effective. Remember, even a veteran minimum salary is much more than those guys make. Jamie's been around forever. That part of it doesn't make sense. And, maybe you hit on one of these guys. There are undrafted free agents in the Hall of Fame. Maybe one of them turns into a player. Maybe one of these young linebackers, they throw the dart at the dartboard. Maybe they hit one. But you're not going to know it unless you throw them out there and play them.
And I don't want to make too much of one game. And this past weekend against the Cowboys was one game. But that was some of the worst linebacker play I've seen by the Philadelphia Eagles in a decade. So I would ask you, John McMullen, throwing that dart at the dartboard. Singleton, Edwards, Bradley, Taylor.
But that's the thing.
Which one is actually going to hit? Which one do you think?
I don't think any of
Throw
them.
out the Cowboy game. That's the exception, not the rule. This guy is going to be a player. Which of the group of Eagle linebackers are you going to make that statement about
I don't think personally, I don't think any of them. But that's why that's why the expression.
That's why you pick up Jamie Collins. If you firmly believe that none of them is going to become a 3-down, make plays, tackle guys, linebacker, well, then short term, let's see if the Eagles can win some more games. And if they can, Jamie Collins can help them do that.
Well, here's the reason.
Pick a guy like that up.
Here's the reason. I always bring up this guy because I got to cover him, and it's an amazing story, and he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you threw that same conversation at me when I was watching John Randall early in his career, and you said the defensive tackle equivalent of Jamie Collins, said, well, John Randall, he's an undrafted. He's not going to. That's when the draft was 12 rounds, by the way. He's not going to be able to help you. He's not going to be able to do anything. That's why it's called throwing the dart. Sometimes you hit the bullseye. You're just throwing it. 99 times out of 100, I know what Jamie Collins is. Is Sean Bradley going to develop? Is TJ Edwards going to develop? Is Alex Singleton going to develop? Probably not. Probably not. But at least I don't know. At least they're young. I would say this. I don't want Eric Wilson on the field. I want to give somebody else a chance, whether that's TJ, most likely, or even Sean Bradley, preferably Davion Taylor, if he can ever get healthy. I want to see one of those guys more than I want to see Jamie Collins, because maybe those guys can do something. Probably not. I'm saying the odds are definitely against me. I'm 40 feet back from the dartboard. I'm not hitting the bullseye, Jody. But I think it's for where this team is. I don't want Jamie Collins. I don't want a 32-year-old veteran who isn't very good, to be honest.
I thought Jamie Collins was a damn good player in his day.
He was a good player in his day. Yeah, but his day is long gone.
Well, here's what it comes down to me. And apparently you and I have different ways to evaluate players and where the Philadelphia Eagles are at this year. I don't think any of the Eagle linebacker players right now are going to become 3-down players. I'm really disappointed in Alex Singleton. And I know he got a captaincy in it, maybe because of his special team, but he is starting and playing every down at linebacker for the Eagles right now. And I don't think he's had a very good year. I thought he was much better last year than he was this year. And I'm wondering, did the league kind of figure him out? That does concern me. Edwards is what he is. He's a coverage guy. He's not a tackler. The signing Wilson from the Vikings seems to be a mistake at this point. Sean Bradley can't beat out these guys who aren't getting the job done. That's a really bad sign. And oops, you just bumped into Davion Taylor and he got hurt again. So there's the Eagles linebacking core as of right now. I think Jamie Collins comes in here and he's the best Eagle linebacker. At his advanced stage, with his game going backwards, he walks into the room today and it's the best linebacker they have. And if you can say that, if you can pick up a guy off the street and plug him into and give him 1 week to get up to speed, and you think he can be your best linebacker, how do you not do that in a season where you're out 1-2, but the Cowboys are only 1 game ahead of you at 2-1? Yes, you've called it a transitional year, but you're still in the NFC least, and you want to at least take your shot. How do you not pick up a guy like that? If, as I said to you a couple of minutes ago, if there was a guy that I really believe, you just got to give him time. Give this guy. He is John Randall. He was undrafted. He was a guy you took a shot on, and you've seen glimpses. You've seen flashes, and you believe it's going to come together. All right, then I say, yeah, we don't take Jamie Collins. I don't have that faith in any of these guys. And if that's the case, I got to go out and get a better player for the position where I have a gaping hole.
Yeah, but when it comes, I guess my point is when it comes to players like that who come out of nowhere, nobody knows. to a lesser extent, forget about a Hall of Famer like Randall. To a lesser extent, look at Alex Singleton here. And you're right. I that was the worst game I saw Alex ever play against the Cowboys, to be honest. But I don't think he was bad against Atlanta. I don't think he was bad against San Francisco. I just think he had a bad game.
Okay.
But my point with Alex is they didn't know. They didn't want to play him. They were forced to play him. And he was better than every other linebacker they had. So he's kind of a perfect example of why playing time matters. And some guys maybe being better on the field than they are in practice. I mean, but I do agree with you. And that's where I said, I don't want to see any more of Eric Wilson. I've seen enough. He's a veteran. Again, we go back to Minnesota as well. It's not just this season. This is who he is. He cannot stop the run. I've been talking about it for months. So you do have younger players. And I do want to see TJ Edwards. I do want to see more Sean Bradley. Hopefully Javion Taylor can get on the field. Even go to the practice squad, Jacoby Stevens. They drafted him. He's that modern guy. You know, he's the safety turn linebacker. Throw him out there. Christian Ellis, they signed to him. That Luther Ellis's kid. Remember Luther Ellis from Detroit, the great defensive end. Throw him out there. They're not in a stage, and that's why I said at the quarterback in the biggest position. I'm not worried about winning the NFC East with an 8-9 record. You know, I'd like to 9-8 record, whatever. You'd like to, but to me, it's more about, you know, finding out where you are, that transition. I'm taking Jeffrey Lurie at his word. If it's a transition, it's a transition. Let the young guys play. Let the young guys develop. I don't want some guy in here he's going to be here for 1 year for 13 games. There's no need for it. That's not the position you're in. If they were a good team, I would seriously consider this. I would seriously consider it. They're not.
Right.
So
right.
I agree with Howie Roseman in this.
Well, we don't know. Howie hasn't made a call.
Oh, I know.
Yet.
I know. And Howie didn't call me, but I know Howie well enough to know that's one he's not even discussed.
No chance that
no
Jamie
shot.
Collins ends up here.
No shot.
All right. I'm not slamming the door just yet. Maybe it's a little overly optimistic on my part, but I would inquire if I were Howie Roseman.
I'm going to give you tremendous credit if that comes true.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, I've got a source. His name is Jody McDonald. I'm making this stuff up. I got no Eagles sources whatsoever. I'm just trying to use a little football logic, but I'm not the general manager of the Eagles, nor do I have a wire into them. All right, John mentioned quarterback. Oh, I want to talk about the quarterback when we come back, because Jalen Hurts was right there with the Eagle linebackers. Pretty ugly on game number 3 against the Cowboys. If you look at the box score, you were out of town, didn't catch the game, you go, well, it's not good, but it's not terrible.
Well, yeah, it was terrible.
It was pretty terrible. And we'll talk about it and the future of the Eagles at the quarterback position next year on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
The glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Yeah, okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mac guys here with you on Bird 365. About 20 minutes from now, we're going to punch up our buddy Joe Santoliquito, Philly Voice, Eagles contributor. He basically covers everything for Philly Voice. Joe does it all. But we get him on to talk about the Birds, and we will do just that about 20 minutes from now. Johnny and I continue to break down what happened against the Cowboys and look ahead. We were just talking about Jamie Collins. Can you look ahead with Jamie Collins playing linebacker for the next 13 games and go, hey, they could be a better team? Is it even worth it? That's where the debate and the rub comes in. Somebody's got to play quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles the next 13 games. And we assume it's going to be Jalen Hurts for at least a while longer. After having an outstanding first game this year, not as good week number 2, inability to get it in from in close. Didn't like the play calling, but Jalen didn't make any plays either. And the not-so-Philly special has got to be coming out of the playbook because he looked like he had no idea how to run a route. We know he knows how to run, but be a receiver coming out of backfield, that did not go well. And then he had this game against the Cowboys this week, and even though the numbers, some of them you can make an argument for, look okay, his post-game potty references I thought were entertaining, but overall, that was not a good game by the Eagles starting quarterback. He had passes that he underthrew. He had passes that were open that he couldn't deliver on time and in location. I just overall thought he had a really poor game. The conversation is going to start here again any minute, Johnny Mac. How is that Deshaun Watson situation playing itself out in Houston? Can we get a college football schedule out this week and start to check who are the top quarterbacks and where are they going to be playing? And
yeah, by the way, the top quarterbacks are not doing well in the early college season. The guys who were projected to be potential top 15 picks, top half of the first round. So that's not good. Deshaun Watson still doesn't want to play for the Eagles, so that's not good. Depending, a lot of fans wouldn't want him because of his off the field issues. The Eagles would want him, but that's a different conversation. Still will not come off that stance. So until he does, it's the draft or Jalen Hurts. And I know a lot of people, and I saw your old partner. I saw his tweet. Good news is the Eagles could have 3 potential first 10 top 10 picks. No, they can't. I'm sorry, Glenn Macnow. Ton of respect for you. But the Indianapolis Colts will shut things down if they have a potential top 10 pick. They will not allow Carson Wentz to hit 75%. They won't. As simple as that. Chris Ballard is too smart. That's just not going to happen. Now, a high second round pick is still good as well when you're talking about having 2 first round. So if you have 2 high level first round picks and a really good second round pick, that still helps you. But again, the college quarterbacks have not wowed us, and Jalen Hurts has not wowed us. I'm not going to go the extremes though, Jody. After week 1, he's the answer. It's over. Long term, it's great, Baba Kumbaya. Now it's, this is a disaster. No, I'm going to stay comfortably in the middle. My concern is, and it's been my concern, when he's allowed Jalen Hurts to throw the football down the field, he has not been successful. That's my concern. And that's got to change, and it's got to change pretty quickly.
I certainly agree with you about the Indianapolis Colts. My only point there would be, how is that going to play with Carson Wentz?
No, I'm not going to play well, but who cares at that point?
The Colts are sitting at, let's just make the number up, 3-9, 12 games to go. We got 5 games to go. That's about. Carson has played the great majority, like he has now. He's well into 90% of the snaps. And they're sitting there at 3-9, and Frank Reich has to call him into the office and say, Carson, here's the deal. We still like you. You're still our quarterback of the future, but we're in a transition phase, in case you've never heard that word before. We're in a transition phase now. The transition isn't you, but as a team, we're transitioning. So we need that high first-round draft pick we may be getting. And, yeah, we can't take the chance that you're going to actually do well for us here in the last couple games. So, yeah, we're going to go with JAKIB Eason as our quarterback for the last 5 games of the season. We want you to stay ready. We want you to stay optimistic. We want you to be a team player and work with JAKIB in the meetings. Carson says, whatever you want, coach. I'm your man, coach. I'm here for you, coach. You think that's got any chance of flying that Carson Wentz becomes the good teammate?
Probably not, but I don't think the Colts are even nearly in the same circumstances as the Eagles were, who invested so much in the Carson Wentz, believed so much in the Carson Wentz, and they wanted it to succeed. The Colts will be like, this didn't work. Hey, Carson, you're not playing this week. You're done. We're turning the page. That's it. I mean, they don't have that history.
They're telling them, listen, we're going to trade you.
No, they're going to say JAKIB Eason or whoever is going to play. That's it. That's going to be the conversation. And Carson's going to be out of there. What if they can trade him, or they'll just cut him? They don't have the huge albatross the Eagles had. That'll just be a typical, and Carson will be at the crossroads of having failed in 2 organizations, and he'll probably have to come to the self-realization he's going to be a backup quarterback until he proves himself moving forward. So if they get to that point, 3-9, they just bench him, and that's that. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. And they're not even going to explain. It's not going to be the kid gloves treatment, other than Frank Reich is a really nice guy, probably say, sorry, Carson, but, this is more important for the team long term. Yeah, they will just pull the plug, and it won't be an issue at all. Jim Irsay, I don't know if you saw it, Jody. He was already out there last week talking about Carson's vaccination status, talking about he's got to stay on the field. He was taking a hardline approach to the quarterback, and he should, to be honest. There is no background. There is no marriage. They didn't use all those assets to go up to number 2 in the draft, all the history, none of that. This is just a guy who came in and didn't work in that type of situation.
I'm looking here at the Indianapolis Colts salary cap, dead cap money if they were to cut him. Certainly not as big as the Eagles, but they're not going to get him for free. They are going to take a hit if they move on from him. He still does have guaranteed money left in his contract. So wouldn't be a complete, we can just move away from him at this time. I think if his play is that bad, they'll move away from him because of his play, not because, hey, we took a shot and it didn't work and we'll just get on with the rest of our lives. They would have to eat a little dead cap money. It'd be very interesting to see how it's handled by the Colts when they do it. All right, I will suggest to all you Eagle fans out there, a game you want to watch this Saturday, not Sunday with the Birds, You may not want to watch Sunday at Birds with Patrick Mahomes at 1-2 coming to town with a chip on his shoulder. Sorry, Eagle fans. No, I'm talking about Saturday. The University of Mississippi going into Alabama to take on the Crimson Tide. We know who our producer Xander will be rooting for in that one. But I have been tremendously impressed with Matt Corral, the quarterback from Mississippi. He is right now, I think, the leader in the clubhouse for the Heisman Trophy, which a lot of people thought Spencer Rattler was the leader before the season started. He has not been impressive. Sam Howell has not been impressive. Keaton Slovis from USC has not been impressive. All the guys who everybody had at the top of the chart gotten off to pretty slow starts in college football this year. Matt Corral from Mississippi has been phenomenal. Now, Alabama's a 2+ touchdown, almost 3 touchdown favorite because they are every single week and they've got a better team. But this kid quarterback absolutely could be playing himself to the top of the draft this upcoming year. And if you haven't seen him play yet, this is the best weekend of the entire year. Now, there's one other game I do want to make note of because another guy who will be in the conversation for the number one quarterback as all these other preseason possibilities get off to slow starts. You and I have talked about him here on Birds 365. Malik Willis from Liberty has also gotten off to a pretty good start. Not throwing for a ton of yards, running a lot. Looks kind of a lot like Trey Lance, as a matter of fact, but he's completing a high percentage of his passes. Mississippi and Liberty actually play. I think it's first Saturday of November. So Matt Corral against Malik Willis. Oh, that's circle that one. Look up the date on that one now, Eagle fans, because if you believe what John just said, Deshaun Watson not happening, how the Eagles going to get the quarterback of the future if it's not Jalen Hurts? Oh, that's going to be a showdown game between two guys who I'm telling you right now will be ahead of the Spencer Rattlers and Sam Howells and Keaton Slovises. Both Willis and Corral will be guys who will be, by the time we get to the draft, ranked ahead of them, and guys the Eagles absolutely should be targeting.
Yeah, certainly Willis. I'm not sure on Corral. If he beats Alabama, obviously, sky right. Only because he's I haven't seen him play that much, and I certainly haven't, don't have time to look at where NFL scouts. He's got a chance, I guess, to go the Joe Burrow route, but I think he's a little bit undersized. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jody.
He's a 6-footer.
Yeah, so then you got to be really athletic. You got to be in the is he that athletic to overcome that lack of size? Just knowing how NFL scouts think, it's going to be more difficult for him than it is a Willis, where more of the concern was obviously is going to be the level of competition and stuff like that. But once the Rattlers of the world, the Howells of the world are disappointing, then the Willises have a chance to jump up there. I just don't know if traits measurable wise, Matt Corral is going to be able to get there. But I haven't seen him play. Is he very athletic? Because he's got to be very athletic if he's that size.
No, not really.
So
he can pull it down and run with it, but he's not Trey Lance or Malik Willis type. I don't even think he's a Jalen Hurts type. No, he's a stand in the pocket and throw kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't. Not that I'm not saying I'm saying I know how these guys think. And if he's a stand in the pocket guy at 6 foot, whatever he is,
he's got okay size. He's as per comparison to other quarterbacks in the NFL, he's slightly undersized. He's not as undersized as, say, Devonta Smith would be as compared to other wide receivers around the National Football League. You just look at his skills and believe he's going to be able to play at the next level despite his size. I would say the same thing about Matt Corral.
Yeah, I mean, things are changing a little bit, and that's probably a good thing from the quarterback position. He's going to have some movement skills to overcome that. If you're a traditional pocket passer, they still want 6'4", 6'5", and maybe you'll get away with 6'3", but they don't even want traditional pocket passers to begin with anymore. So the league is shifting in that direction. Maybe he'll be a polarizing prospect. But knowing NFL personnel people, they want to see some kind of special trait if you're that undersized at the quarterback.
The kid can
position.
fire the football. He's got a serious.
Well, let me say, you're Zach Wilson, and by no means am I writing Zach Wilson off. That's the kind of player you have to be, the all-platform throws. Because Zach Wilson hasn't showed up yet, obviously. He's got tremendous, tremendous arm talent. I saw that live. I mean, it is striking when you see it on the practice field compared to other guys throwing the football. If he's got that, maybe something can happen.
Corral can throw the football. I've watched a couple of his games so far. And I'm going to give you one other name. And I'm telling you right now, this kid is not going to play himself up into the conversation of the top 10 in the draft. But he could play himself into the first round. And depending on how the Eagles use their apps and who's sitting there and the like. I've now watched 3 Fresno State games. I stayed up till 2:45.
Boy, you were really killing Jalen Hurts in an underdeveloped. We're talking Fresno State football.
Well, hey, I enjoy playing amateur NFL scout.
No, I know.
I watch every college football game with an eye on how's this guy going to translate to the next level. That's just me. And I saw this kid play week 0 and said, damn, I've never seen him play. He can throw the football. He's got him hanging. Kid by the name of Jake Haener on Fresno State. He is, for my money, should be, he's got no chance, but should be just off the stats, the leading candidate ahead of Matt Corral for the Heisman Trophy this year. He's got 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He leads college football in yards thrown at 1,800. You talk about undersized. He's actually 6'1". They list Corral at 6 foot, but Corral is like 205, 210. Jake Haener's 195, and I'm telling you, they're adding pounds to him. He looks like a scat back more than he does a quarterback. But this guy's got him hanging. He hangs in the pocket against UCLA a couple of weeks ago. I told you I stayed up till 2:35. I was on the air till 2. I stayed up another half an hour to watch the end of the game and watch him march his team down the field against Chip Kelly's defense and pull out a game at the end of the game. Jake Haener, just put that name aside. No one is talking about him as a draftable quarterback. Certainly nobody talked about him coming into the year, yours truly included. But I jumped onto him early this year when he had a big game, week number 1. Fresno State has been known to develop quarterbacks, the Carboys, before. So just keep that name in the back of your pocket about a guy who could play himself into the first-round conversation. He's not there yet, but I'm telling you, he's a legit Heisman candidate.
Yeah. Jody, I tell you NFL statistics are overrated. Throw college statistics out the door. They're not looking at those types of things. There's certain offenses. I brought up.
He's got Joe Burrow to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
No, but but they're playing at Ohio State. That's a high level of competition. They're playing at LSU. I was thinking Fields. Burrow was at Ohio State. Transfers to LSU. He's winning national championships. There's a big difference between Fresno State and LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson when you're playing at that level. I just go back to Colt Brennan because of his season, which I think is still the record, with 5,500 yards, 58 touchdowns. I mean, look, those guys are tremendous college players, tremendous, and not a lot of people can do that. But there's a whole lot of difference between having a high-paced sort of like Paul Westhead offense on the football field and you can do that at the college level. You can't just do something nobody else is doing and piling up 5,500 passing yards in the NFL. It just doesn't work like that. And that's why it's difficult. And you try to, you see the young quarterbacks and how they're struggling so badly early in their careers. The Trevor Lawrence, who's as clean as a prospect you're going to get, is struggling. Fields is struggling. Wilson's struggling. Everybody's struggling. And it ain't easy.
John, If you want to dismiss him, go ahead.
Oh, I'm dismissing the Fresno State kid
Keep your eye on Jake Haener. He is.
I'm sure he's a great college player, but he's not going to be a first-round pick.
He will be an NFL player. Mark my word.
Well, that I'm not saying he could be a backup or a third-string quarterback. There's plenty. I mean, I remember Jake Browning's freshman year at Washington. I mean, he was just unbelievable. People were talking about him being a future #1 overall pick, and all of a sudden, you start looking at his size, and it falls off, and he doesn't get drafted. He's an NFL player, though. I mean, he's on Cincinnati, I think, it's backup quarterback. But I mean, I'm sure he could be an NFL player.
All I'm saying is, if I have to make a pick today, Jake Haener, Keaton Slovis, I'm taking Jake Haener. And people were talking about Keaton Slovis being the first draftable quarterback this year. If I'm talking about Jake Haener or Sam Howell at North Carolina, who some people thought could be the first overall #1 pick, I'm taking Jake Haener. I haven't completely given up on Spencer Rattler yet. He's going to have to turn it around. But I've kind of passed on the Slovises and the Howells of the world. Keep your eye on a Jake Haener from Fresno State. Kids got him hanging. All right, we're hanging here on Bird 365. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Joining us next, we're going to get another Jay on the show. That would be Joe Santoliquito from PhillyVoice.com. I'm going to hop aboard Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
The glass is for cocktails, right?
It's for this, and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Yeah, okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mac guys on Bird 365. We've got a well-informed third party to join today's show. He writes a lot of different things in a lot of different places. Billy Boise does it all, covers all the sports, but we like his Eagle knowledge when he hops aboard with us. Joe Santoliquito here with us on Bird Street 365. What do you know, Joe?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Oh, pumped up the volume there, Joe. Good to see you, buddy.
Let me hang on.
You're fine. You're fine. All right, where do we start, Joe, with this team? A rookie head coach, everything peaches and cream, a young quarterback after week one, and then the NFL has a way of, you're a big boxing guy, punching you right in the face when you think things are going well. What have you seen from Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts over the past 2 weeks after the great debut?
Not much, and I don't put much stock into the great debut. They beat a very, very bad Atlanta Falcons team, which we're finding out about. You have to excuse me. I'm going to have some fun for a second. I bring props.
Oh, there we go.
Right? Because that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the white helmet Eagles that I grew up with. That's how bad this team was on Monday night. And that's what I kind of foresee over this next month and what these guys have ahead of them. These are things we spoke about going into the season. We spoke about how solvent the offensive line is. And you have a group of guys that really have not held up well as a collective unit over the last 3 or 4 years. And now we're talking about heading into week 4. And your left guard is now Nate Herbig, and your right guard is a rookie out of Alabama, Landon Dickerson, who obviously he's a great run blocker, but he's proven that he can't exactly stop anyone when it comes to pass protection. So I would define this as a mess, and it's a mess that's only going to get larger and deeper. The things that I'm looking for is how they react to these situations. I thought on Monday night, Nick Sirianni, well, the whole team obviously didn't acquit themselves very well, but in my opinion, from what I saw, I thought Nick Sirianni actually kind of froze at the wheel. I think he got kind of caught up in. I think he lost track of everything, and I'll chalk that up to a first year NFL head coach that got lost in a situation. I do believe Nick Sirianni's a smart guy. I believe Nick Sirianni's a guy that works hard. I believe he's someone that will take a strong look at himself and self-evaluate. And hopefully in time, this is one of those learning pain situations that, by the way, Eagles fans better get a grip on this. This is going to be a learning pain kind of season.
I would tend to agree. Well, Jeff Lloyd told us about that before he even hired Nick Sirianni when he fired Doug Peterson and said we're in a transition. They looked very transitional to me on Monday night. You mentioned his self-evaluation. John talked about that last week here on the show, and he thought it was worrisome that 2 weeks in that he's already second-guessing him and evaluating himself. I get it that it is a transition type year, but Eagle fans don't want to hear that. They want to be competitive in a very weak division. If this division had a Kansas City and they had no chance to make it and they didn't look like a 500 team, so how could you be thinking wild card? Okay, then fine. It's a rebuild. You don't even use the word like transition. You call it what it is. It's a rebuild. I don't know that Eagle fans want to hear that. So is Nick Sirianni earning and learning on the job something that Eagle fans want to hear, Joe?
Well, obviously they don't, but they better, and they have to, because they have no other situation. There's no other recourse in this matter. The Eagles took in Andy Reid, who no one knew about. We obviously found out about him on the go. He's a Hall of Fame caliber coach. But I recall, I don't even think the third game in the Andy's first rookie season with the Eagles, I don't think they looked anywhere near as bad as they did on Monday night. And it's not just Nick Sirianni; it was a collective unit. The adjustments that they certainly made in the first 2 games, again, I think everybody froze it. But you have to lie. Obviously, the blame lies with the guy that wears the crown. In this case, Nick Sirianni. He's the head of the show. So if he's freezing, he's freezing at the wheel. everybody collectively seemed to freeze at the wheel as well. I know going into it, and John and I each week make our predictions with Philly Voice. I saw the Eagles losing this game. I didn't think they would lose the way they lost. And some of the things I had been hearing from SEC coaches that know of Jalen Hurts, some of those things, some of those old criticisms began to surface. I mean, that, there's a fabulous touchdown pass that he threw, well, obviously late in the game. His competitive fire was still there. But he's also a very major work in progress. And again, knowing what we know about Wentz, if you were able to put Jalen's competitiveness, his fire into Carson Wentz, you'd have the complete quarterback. Because, again, Carson Wentz is still a physically better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. And people, again, better get a grip on the fact that, this is a trial by fire situation for Jalen Hurts this season. He's not going to back away from the fire. He's going to run towards the fire. But does he have enough armament to deal with the heat? Does he have enough armament to turn around and be able to get this team to where it needs to go? Right now, doesn't look like it. Right now, all of the things that I've been hearing from a few SEC coaches that had familiarity with Jalen Hurts are coming to fruition. And I don't know what you can do about it. I mean, do you go to Joe Flacco? No, because this is a team that still has to learn and grow as a collective unit. And I believe making the move to Joe Flacco would only be a step back. So let's see where things go. It doesn't look like things are going in a good situation, and certainly with Kansas City coming in, they're not going to get any better.
Silver lining here, Joe, because this is what this season is supposed to be about, finding out what you have in Jalen Hurts, and to a lesser degree, Nick Sirianni. Maybe the Nick part isn't a positive, but if you find out, to me, the answer is more important than no answer. In other words, if you're scheming up Jalen Hurts like Nick Sirianni was able to do against a fellow rookie head coach in week one, and I talked about this with Jody after that game, what are you really learning other than, okay, the coach did a good job, but you're throwing the ball 3 yards in the air, bubble screen. What are you learning about the quarterback? Now, it's been ugly over the past 2 weeks as he throws the football down the field, but we are learning perhaps, okay, maybe this isn't the guy who can throw the football down the field. Is that a positive, just getting the answer, if we ultimately get to that answer?
I think it's a positive because it gives you a direction as to where to go. This is something that a quarterback guru that I know spoke to me about after the season opener against Atlanta. First thing he told me, I got on the phone. He said, "Joe, I don't know if they have a whole lot of confidence in Jalen Hurts." I said, "Well, where's that coming from?" He says, "Well, it's one thing to turn around and get him going early on, but they kept that pace. They kept that pace of, like you were saying, with the bubble screens and things like that. That shows me, even in one game, and this is an individual telling me this, they don't have a whole lot of faith in the guy right now. If they had some faith, okay, you're in a comfortable situation with what we're finding out is a very bad Atlanta team, but you're going to show some faith and confidence in him to let him cut loose, let him go down the field in the second half. We didn't see that. We obviously saw that on Monday night because they were in a desperate situation. It's one thing to build his confidence gradually with the bubble screens and the short stuff to get it going, but then when you're continuing to do that, it doesn't show a whole lot of faith in him right now. And in the back of my mind, going conspiracy theory, there's one thing in easing someone into a situation, and there's other things. This is the NFL, and there's no little kiddie pool here. It's all the deep end, and you better get ready for the deep end fast, because if you don't, you're going to have a situation like you had Monday night. And I know, Jody, God bless you, you're a Dallas guy or a Dallas Cowboys fan. Dallas was very, very magnanimous in that game, because it could have been far worse than it was, and it was only 41-21.
True. And the coach actually heard about it, that why he didn't call timeouts at the end of the first half. I still don't understand why they didn't go for a 2-point conversion at one point when the kicker missed his extra point and you want to get it back to the 7-point number. Didn't make any sense to me, but down in, down out, yes, the Cowboy coaching staff certainly outcoached the Eagles staff. All right, Joe, I need your opinion on this. John and I disagreed on this in hour number one. Jamie Collins, veteran linebacker, got released by the Detroit Lions. They are further along in the, oh, yeah, we stink, we're in rebuild mode than the Eagles are right now. He becomes available, and you can go out and get him if you can just convince him that he can have a good year here, 1-year contract. He's better at this stage in his career, age 32, than any of the other Eagle linebackers for my money. I say go get him. John says, what is he really going to bring to the table? Why don't you just continue to evaluate what you have? Should the Eagles make a play for Jamie Collins?
I tend to lean more towards John and the thinking. The Eagles, well, you don't need to get any older. Did Wilson even make a tackle Monday night?
He made a bunch.
He didn't play.
Eric Wilson? Or are you talking about Taylor?
No, I'm talking about Jamie Collins of Detroit. He didn't play this past week for the Lions. You know that he was a signee by the previous coach. So the new coach said, yeah, we don't need a 32-year-old guy. They're playing younger guys. But Detroit is 0-3 on the way to 2-15. Are the Eagles 2-15 would be my question.
Oh, they're on their way.
Yeah, they're certainly on their way. And here's another thing that's interesting, just looking at their schedule here. 3 games in 11 days. They host the Chiefs. Yeah. They take on a rising Panthers team the following week. And then you only deal with 4 days. I mean, that is, I think that's a Thursday night game where the Eagles are hosting the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
Three games in 11 days. And we're talking 1-2 now. They can easily be 1-5. And then after they're 1-5, they're going to a Raiders team in Vegas that's playing exceptionally well. Again, the haunting of the white helmet era, and I just can't go back. I can't go back to that enough. That this reminds me of those times. I saw Singleton flying around a little bit Monday night. John, you were saying Eric Wilson did have a pretty productive game.
Tackles wise, but they were all 8 yards down.
Yeah,
the
8
field.
yards.
Yeah.
8 yards. First and second and 2. You made a tackle. Whoopee.
Well, I also will say this for all of the positivity we hear about Darius Slay, didn't exactly quit himself very well. You know, so these are supposed to be the strong areas of this team. Cox played well. It's a matter of endurance with him. Hargrave played well, but then think about how bad it would have been without those two Monday night. But then you see Fletcher Cox doing what Fletcher Cox continuously does. You know, by the third and fourth quarter, he's on the field. I think was it cramps?
Yeah, he had cramps. He was sick during the week.
Okay.
He mentioned he didn't eat for 4 days, so he was pretty sick. Okay. And it was really hot in Dallas, obviously. They had the roof open, they had the doors open. But you're right. I mean, it's no excuse. Fletcher didn't make an excuse about it, but he was sick. He didn't practice during the week. Wasn't able to get through the game. But those guys, you know, that was the Cowboys' game plan. They double teamed once they figured out, you know, Brandon Graham isn't out here. The linebackers are the linebackers. Let's double team Fletcher Cox. Let's double team Javon, and let's go downhill. And those linebackers just couldn't make a play, which leads me to my next question, Joe, and that's the coaching staff. Both sides of the football. I just gave you a Jonathan Gannon example, but Nick Sirianni as well. You mentioned froze, deer in the headlights, whatever you want to call it. This staff is very young.
Yeah.
And when they're in the guts of the game and the game is not going well, go back to the boxing analogy, they are not reacting well to that hard right to the face. Let's put it that way. They're not adjusting.
And I think that again comes with the youth of the group. These guys, I think, have shown, and John, you were there during the preseason. I think they've shown that they're good teachers, but being a good teacher doesn't necessarily mean, you're a good in-game coach. I really, I know Sirianni has turned around. At least I'll tell you this: he's transparent. He's willing to take accountability. He doesn't skirt a question. But this is as a group, they are learning as a group. They're learning on the job. And again, the NFL is not built like that. This is a team that year after year has expectations. But again, and I've said it on your air. I said it to both you guys, if you remember, back when I had my wing clipped. My wing, look, it's free. It's free.
Looking good.
But back, if you guys recall, I think it was back in mid-August when we spoke, that I had this team is not going to win any more than 6 games. I mean, they'd be lucky to win 6 games. And right now, as we see, it's happening more and more. And people are just going to have to be patient. The fearful thing is going to be this: how you move, how you improve. We saw that in Coach Reed's first year, that we saw some progression there. We saw some things happening. And I was thinking, too, giving Nick Sirianni the benefit of the doubt, that this is a team that's going to learn and grow as they learn and grow his system. Well, we're also finding out that right now, after 3 games, he may not have a system. We saw Jalen Hurts running for his life on Monday night, and I'm trying to decide, what the hell kind of offense is this? It almost goes back to
pre-snap motion at all, Joe.
Does it
no pre-snap motion?
Does it go back to, I remember Buddy Ryan almost ignoring the offensive side of the ball and saying, here, Randall, make a play each play. Well, you could do it with Randall and kind of get away with it because Randall Cunningham had that kind of a talent and ability and had the ability to certainly throw the ball down the field. Now, poor Jalen Hurts is running for his life, still learning about the NFL level, still learning to see. We don't even know if Jalen Hurts has any kind of an arm to throw beyond 40 yards. So that's the sense that I got, that this is a very, very bad version of that kind of offense.
The thing that you have to take into consideration with Jalen Hurts, and I did a lot of this last year, blame me. I defended Carson Wentz for the first month of the season, saying, come on, who can survive behind that ravaged offensive line? Well, we're getting there with the Eagles' ravaged offensive line as well. Injuries aplenty, and maybe not. They get Mailata back this week, but if they don't, 3/5 of the offensive line is going to be substitutions. We talked about this a lot here on the show, Joe, and it's been a while since we had you on. The way the Eagles handle preseason. Guys not getting a lot of reps. Practice is running short. John McMullen capable of having a leisurely lunch because the Eagle practice ran as short as it did.
Best part of the day.
Yeah, best part of his day. I questioned it that, come on, don't you prep for a football season by actually practicing football and getting guys out there? Did they overstate the 4-0 record in joint practices and think they had achieved everything they needed to? Is this team even ready for game 4 of an NFL season? And if not, who are we pointing the finger at? Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff, or Howie Roseman et al., and all the people who advise the coaching staff as to how much he should use his players?
Well, this is something from the past that John and I have actually spoken about numerous times on the air or in private, is right off the bat, Deuce Staley being told, you're coaching these guys too hard. They've had guys from on top, from high, from I'm not going to necessarily say Jeff Lurie, but I kind of have a feeling it may come from Jeff Lurie on down, that, how tough these guys get coached. And apparently, well, I could assume that attitude, that underlying attitude is still there. That's why Deuce Staley's no longer on the Eagles coaching staff. He was told numerous times, and I know this for a fact, he was told, you're coaching these guys too hard. Well, I also know the other side of it. The running backs at that time loved to be coached hard. They wanted to be pushed. And maybe there's that feeling again that let's deal with kid gloves right now. We're dealing with everybody gets a trophy type of generation. I see and understand that, but again, as I've said here numerous times, this is the NFL. This is the deep end. You've jumped into the deep end. You're not jumping into the kiddie pool. And right now, it seems as if, in terms of the way the Eagles think collectively, it seems as if they still have a kiddie pool mentality. I do have to say this from what I saw, and John, you're a far better evaluator than me. Andre Dillard didn't look that bad Monday.
Oh, he played well. He played fine. Andre Dillard was not the issue. And I thought it was a perfect situation. I said that coming into the game. DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They were down 6 defensive linemen. So it wasn't great competition, but he was not the issue at all. And I thought that was one of the few positive parts of that game. I do want to kind of carry over Jody's thought about the offseason. And I don't think it's Nick Sirianni's fault. That's an organizational decision. I think he would have preferred to prepare, preferred to practice longer. Bottom line, he wasn't allowed to. And then I go into 3 games, Joe. Record number of penalties. Franchise record. Lead the NFL. I think that's where that offseason, that lack of practice time, that sloppiness carries over into the football games. That's historic.
Yeah.
Why the penalties? Why the lack of discipline other than that?
Yeah. Having the pleasure of talking to Coach Vermeil in early August, and God bless him, he's as old school as it comes. But obviously with the restrictions today that coaching staffs have, as opposed to what Coach Vermeil faced, what he had the luxury of doing during his time here in the with the Eagles. But I do believe Andy Reid still, this is a Hall of Fame coach, a future Hall of Fame coach that pretty much runs the Kansas City Chiefs the way he ran the Eagles here. I mean, He was incredibly demanding. He turned around, had these guys go through, and it's just a very simple rule of thumb, and I see it covering the high school kids and with the colleges that I cover. Repetition, 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 and again, you in many ways you practice how you play, and if you're not there on the field, again, these guys seem to be, at least as a collective unit, they seem to be more classroom bound than they are practical bound right now. I'm not saying that I'm not saying there's not a capacity to grow. I like to believe that there is a capacity to grow as a coaching staff here, but from what I know of this staff, they seem to be more, let's do the teaching. And again, I'm not going to criticize the teaching ability of this coaching staff, because everything I heard, and John, again, maybe you can attest to this, these guys are very, very good teachers. But again, that doesn't mean you can practically put what you teach in the practical situations, into real life situations. And obviously that certainly that hasn't been the case here. And again, it's not going to get any easier with what they have coming up with Kansas City, with a very good, I believe in Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. And then again, obviously, Tampa Bay coming in. So it's not going to get any easier. I could see them easily being 1-5, maybe even then you got the Raiders 1-6. They travel to Detroit on Halloween. Well, the Detroit Lions that I saw on Sunday against Baltimore,
they were competitive.
That's a team that could beat some people. So this by the end of this month, this could be very ugly very fast.
We shall see. I was just going to ask you, when do you think the Eagles are going to get their next win? And you're kind of saying, well, I don't know, December, somewhere thereabouts.
I tend to believe I'm going to go Detroit, because I don't think anybody's certainly picking them. I think they're they're a +6 against the Chiefs at home. I certainly they're not going to be the favorites in Carolina, and with the 4-day rest coming in with the short week, they're certainly not going to be the favorites with the Buccaneers coming in, and they're certainly not going to be the favorites with the Raiders. And who's to say they're not a pick'em going into Halloween Day against the Lions? I don't. The best shot they have at the next victory would probably be, I keep on saying the end of this month, we're still in September, but would probably be the Lions, down the line on October 31st.
All right, so thanks for the good news, Joe. let's keep it rolling. And I hear, and Joe said earlier, I'm a Cowboy guy. I've been a Cowboy guy for close to 15 years. I was one growing up. I was a massive Roger Staubach fan.
Yes.
I appreciated Tom Landry. I thought Jerry Jones was a blowhard from the day. He bought the team, but he bought Super Bowls immediately. So I stayed on board and took that bandwagon ride. But it's been a long time since I've been a Cowboy fan. However, they impressed me on Monday night. They are 2-1. They hung tough with Tom Brady and the Bucs week 1. Is Dallas going to run away and hide in the NFC East this year?
Well, we're showing what's come out here. We're seeing how bad the Giants are, and I'm talking from a bias. Joe Judge is it's one of my guys. It's scary. I covered Joe in high school. I think the world of Joe, and I like to believe Joe's a very good coach, and he is a very good coach. He wouldn't be a head coach in the NFL if he wasn't a very good coach. But right now, there's some things there. It's surprising. It's kind of going on because I believe Danny Dimes Jones is playing very well, or well. He's playing well. I'm not going to put the saying is very well. They may be. I think the Eagles may be slightly better than the Giants. I still don't think with that formidable Washington defensive front, and I still don't think they're as good as Washington.
By the way, they haven't done diddly for 3 weeks.
No,
the Washington defense has been really disappointing.
Yeah,
it has. But right now, if I were to put them in a group, I would say certainly Dallas is far above, light years above everybody right now in the rest of the division. I would put Washington second, followed by the Eagles, and then the Giants. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of that assessment?
I agree. I think Dallas. Look, the problem with Dallas was the defense, and it's not going to be a top 10 defense. But as long as Dan Quinn can turn it away from being a historically bad defense, and they're making plays, they're opportunistic. Trayvon Diggs has taken that next step. So if they've got top 5 offense with, say, a 16 middle of the road defense, they're going to run away with this division. They're going to run away with it.
I think they could win. I think they could win 11 games, 11 or 12 games. I think they're that good. I mean, Dak is playing at an MVP type level. They're a little bit beat up, I think, on the offensive line. That should a little bit on Monday night. But you're dealing with, I think Dallas could sweep. I think Dallas could go 6-0 in the division. I mean, do you guys see any threat to the Cowboys of winning one game the way the other 3 teams are playing right now?
Other than it's the NFL, and that's why I don't think the Eagles are. We're getting into Bob Groats territory. We always joke here, Joe, because Bob had him at 1. What was it? 1-8, 1-9.
No, he had an O in front of him.
Oh, if they didn't beat the
start this season. 0-5, 0-6, 0-7, 0-8.
Well, he said if they don't beat Atlanta, but they beat Atlanta, so we're in the 1-7.
He said he didn't know he didn't think they were going to do. He was leaning toward it now in Atlanta. Our buddy Bob Groats.
But every week in this league, you're going to win a game you're not supposed to win, and you're going to lose a game or two you're supposed to win. I think that's going to happen with the Eagles. But I got to tell you, Nick Sirianni, the last 2 weeks have not been impressive from the standpoint of in-game coaching. I agree with you, Joe. I think this is a good coaching staff when it comes to teaching. In-game, I knew there were going to be hiccups, but this is a guy when he gets behind, that deer in the headlights, that rings true. When he gets behind, everything comes off the rails. And I've talked with Jody about this a lot. That veteran sounding board, man, where is he? We need him. Yeah. We need him right now, and it's not Jim Bob Cooter.
Well, I said it prior to the season with you guys, and I'm going to stick to my guns. This is a 5-6 win team. This is a team that everybody's going to have to be patient with. This is a team that secretly, well, not secretly. I mean, they basically came out and said it, but people they refused to hear it when Lori's, when he announced the firing of Doug Peterson. This is a retooling team. This is a team that's turning around. It's going to have to learn and grow. Let's see what Nate Herbert can do in the coming weeks. Let's see what Dickerson can do in the coming weeks. Certainly Andre Dillard, at least on Monday night against subpar competition, was able to show some glimpses as to why the Eagles drafted him as high. The other big thing is Lane Johnson. You know, how much longer is Lane going to be able to hold up? I know Brandon Brooks is going to be back in 3 or 4 weeks, but in my opinion, and I think the world of Brandon Brooks. He's an amazing person on the field. He's certainly a difference maker on the field, but he's also a very, very amazing person. I've gotten to know Brandon off the field. And I think Brandon's at a stage right now, and I say this cringing, guys, I mean, it's been one thing after another, and I can't imagine him going through any more pain. You know, this is a guy that let's be honest with each other here, all of us. You know, we're supposed to be unbiased, but that's we all know that doesn't exist. So you see a real good guy like Brandon Brooks go down. You see a guy that's like that in pain. It kind of stings a little bit, you know, because you don't want to see one of the good guys like him go down. You know, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's all these things. In a very fictitious way, I'm saying he should think about retiring. You know, I know he has a nice contract ahead of him, but right now, I mean, his last full season was the Super Bowl year, 2017, correct?
Yeah, he got hurt.
And then he got hurt. Then he got hurt in the playoff game the following season against the Saints.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been the same since. I mean, it's been one thing after another, and it may come to that point in time where he has to. And he's an incredibly intelligent guy. I believe he's either working on his master's or he's just finished his master's. You know, just reevaluate where you are, where things stand with you, and hopefully, you know, Brandon's going to be able to take a look at himself like that, as well as the Eagles organization taking a look at a guy that's been a fantastic soldier for them and a winner for them. But, you know, there comes a time, and again, this is an overall theme with the Eagles. It's time to move on from a lot of pieces. You know,
Joe, you came back from the IR. Well, last time we had you on, you were on the IR. You're back. So I have faith that Brandon Brooks is going to do exactly the same.
But let me go one more time here, guys.
Oh, here comes the white helmet. There it is.
The white helmet are
old school.
Back to I was a child. Back to Pete Lisk and Silky Saw, and
Pete Lisk.
Oh my God, yeah. I was a little baby with my little, you know, green and white Eagles football. But I remember some of those guys, and I remember just how dreadful those teams were. Yeah. But at least with those teams, there was no hope. There was no look at the future. With Jeff Lurie, with this organization, we know there's going to be a constant push to improve. We know there's going to be a constant. They're always going to look for ways to get better. But right now, they have to get out of their own way, and they have to get younger, and they have to turn around and take a look at where things stand, and certainly where things stand moving forward with Jalen Hurts. Get ready for a long, ugly ride, because that's what the season is.
Well, he almost spun it back to optimism, folks, and that's why we like having him on.
Almost.
Joe Santoliquito, thank you much, buddy. We'll get you up again soon enough.
Okay,
nice show.
Guys. Thank you.
That is Joe Santoliquito, PhillyVoice.com here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout, come back. We put a ball on the show next year on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
Glasses for cocktails, right?
It's for this, and that.
Is the length of the glass equal to your...
You betcha.
But is it made out of...
Glass?
Yeah, okay, but is the rip...
Smooth?
Will you stop doing...
That?
I'm the professional here.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. All from the company that's highly awarded. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and deliciously tasting vodka. So good, it just disappears.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, running a little late here on Bird 365. Thanks, Joe Santoliquito, for coming on. No Johnny Mac tomorrow, COVID testing. We'll get him up at the start of the show, but Jeff Kerr will be in co-hosting with me. Matt Verderam from NFL. Shoot, I don't even remember what website Matty works for. I didn't write it down.
SB Nation?
No, he's not SB Nation. I forget.
Fansided.
Fansided. That's it. He's a fansided guy.
All runs together.
Very good. Covers the entire NFL, but is a Kansas City native. So I thought he'd be a good guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a KC guy. He's been a Chiefs fan his whole life, but he does not let that affect his work. He's going to join us at one point tomorrow. All right, we're going to finish on this note, John. I was going to ask this question of Joe, but we ran out of time. We just went to Eagles-Cowboys weeks. And yes, we always try and pump it up and overblow it, make it a bigger deal than it actually is. There's one more Eagles-Cowboy week this year. It is week 18. Never said that before.
Yeah.
Week 18.
Well done, by the way, to get that right.
Yeah.
I would have said week 17.
Yeah, week 18. I'm going to need you to make a pick on that game. Gardner Minshew against Cooper Rush, because the Eagles are actually not worried about winning games at that stage, much like this past year with Doug Peterson. If anything, tanking. They tanked week 17 last year. This year, they may be tanking week 18, and the Cowboys will probably be about 10-6, have a 2-game lead in the division.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about winning it. So here comes Cooper Rush off the bench as Dak sits in skivvies on the sideline. How's that game going to play, Johnny Mac?
Well, I do think the Cowboys are going to be in a position to where they could probably play Cooper Rush or the kid they picked up from the Panthers, Will Grier.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to win this division. They'll probably be ahead. They probably will be resting players. The Eagles are in that situation, maybe going for the Ole Miss kid.
Or Jay Kaner of Fresno State.
Or Jay Kaner. By the way, I looked him up. Yeah, he's a better prospect than I gave him credit for. So you're right about that one. He went to Washington. He transferred. Yeah. So he was a big time recruit. So yeah, there's a lot of Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, etc. Keydon Sloat. They have opened some doors with their play early in this season. But one thing we know about the NFL draft, Jody, guys are going to elevate. So whether it's the guys you brought up, Joe Burrow in the past, Zach Wilson, somebody's coming up from nowhere. And if the Eagles are that high in the draft, they're going to be looking at a quarterback, bottom line.
They will have the potential to get a high pick if the Dolphins stink, and it depends on how long Tua's going to be. I know Jacoby Brissett played okay last. You can't win with Jacoby Brissett in this league. Sorry about that. You're right. You said earlier, there's no way the Colts are going to allow the Eagles to get a high pick. If they stink, Carson Wentz is going to the bench. But the Eagles could actually have pretty damn high pick there themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, week 18. Cooper Rush against Gardner Minshew. Go ahead and get your tickets on the open market now. You want to be in attendance for that one.
And by the way, Gardner's going to throw for 3 touchdowns and everybody's going to say he's the answer, Jody McDonald.
It will give the Mac and Mac guys on Birds 365 something to talk about other than the playoffs, which the Eagles won't be in come the month of January. All right, we got to get out of here. We're overtime. J-Mac, I will talk to you at the top of the show tomorrow, but may you test negative again tomorrow.
I hope so.
Jeff
Big
Carwin.
COVID. I had to wash the COVID off me at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
from Texas.
We'll try and have a COVID-like show for you tomorrow, right here on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.